Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Nancy and I am here to educate you on your foiling. And one of the biggest questions I get asked is how do I tell a difference between toner or mink foil versus hot foil? There are two different kinds of foils. They have two different purposes. They work in two different types of machines. Toner or mink foil is designed to stick to printed images that are toner based. So these are printed from a laser printer. It must be a laser printer, not an inkjet printer. And when you overlay the foil, it will stick to it. Hot foils are meant to work with hot foil stamps or hot foil dies. And when you use hot foils, they press into the paper and there is heat applied and they automatically emboss that design with a die. So it's not a regular die, it's specifically a hot foil die. You'll hear them called hot foil stamps or hot foil dies, but basically it's a metal plate and it doesn't cut, so it presses the image into the paper. Now the biggest difference between the two is that hot foils have an adhesive built into them and toner foils do not. All right, so some of the different brands of regular mink or toner foil that you would use in a laminator or use in a mink machine, so those are the ones you're going to overlay and then it will stick to the toner printed images, are H&H textile foil, Starcraft foils, Deco foils, which includes Gina K and Brutus Monroe foils, the Deco foil brand. Those are some of those brands. Hot foils are the foils that are going to have the adhesive built into them. They're going to work with these hot foil die systems, which would be like the Spellbinders Glimmer, Gemini Foil Press, Couture Creations Go Press and Foil, and the We Are Memory Keepers foil quill systems. Those are all hot foils. Now, two different systems. You do want to keep your foils separated. You do not want to mix up the foils. And I'm going to give you a quick way on how you can tell what the difference is in foil. So I have two red foils here, and if these were in your stash at home, you might say, oh shoot, I didn't keep the original packaging. How do I know which foil is hot foil and which foil is regular foil? So I am just going to cut some pieces of this. Okay, and do not confuse these foils with what's called heat transfer foil, because that is a very confusing term, because both of these systems do use heat. They just use heat in a different kind of way. But for the most part, you want to know if it's toner-based foil or if it is hot foil specifically made for hot foiling systems, okay? So I'm just going to cut this piece of foil into some squares here. Now, I always recommend that you keep your original packaging with your foiling so that you know which is which. I know that that's not always feasible, but if you can, or at least try to store them in separate containers so that you separate one from the other, okay? All right, so I'm just cutting these foils down. You can use scissors, you can use your paper trimmer, you can use a rotary cutting tool, whatever you have to cut the foil. It's very important to keep your foil safe. Now, so if you have two pieces of foil, a piece of foil, and you don't know if it's hot foil or not, the easiest way to test it is to run it through your mink or laminator machine, okay? I do have other videos that show you how to use a laminator. I always recommend using a mink. This is my mini mink. Now, mine looks a little different because I put a piece of colored vinyl on it just to make it look a little prettier. And if you're not a member of our Facebook group, go check it out. It is the Foiling Snobs Club on Facebook. We do all kinds of things creative, not just foiling, but card making, stamping, and things like that. Now I have my machine warming up. It's on 3. Whenever you're using a mink, you do want to use some kind of a carrier sheet, whether that be a folded piece of copy paper or these mink toner sheets. You do not want to use these in a laminator. They are specifically designed for the mink machine. They are not laminating sheets. They're just protective coating. Okay, now I'm going to take that piece of foil or a piece of foil. I'm going to tuck that in there. One of the other things you always want to do when you're foiling, which we don't need to do right now, is dust it. I'll show you that in a moment. But I'm just going to take that foil and a plain piece of cardstock. There is nothing on this cardstock. It is not coated. You just want a plain piece of cardstock, okay? Put that foil in there, and we are going to feed the folded side in through our mink. So I'm going to let that go through. Okay, while we're waiting for that one, I'm going to take the other red foil and another piece of cardstock and run that through. Okay, and again, you just want a plain piece. You don't want anything that's printed on. There's a reason we want to use a plain piece of paper to test this, and I'll show you why in just a second. Now, I know mistakes happen. Sometimes people buy the wrong foil. You can still use either one of these foils with the Decofoil Duo Gel or Decofoil Gel or Ranger Texture Paste. What you do is you rub that paste through a stencil, put the foil on top. You can run it through your ink machine. The Decofoil Duo Gel does not even require heat. You can run that through your die cutting system. And then what will happen is the foil will remain behind when you lift it. You can also use double-sided tape with both systems. The difference is the type of heat system you're using with these foils. All right. So we're going to let those cool down before we reveal them. And then we're also going to do these two pre-printed toner sheets. So this is the solid red foil. And again, when you are doing the toner sheets, you do want to dusty, okay? So I do have on my Amazon shop these really pretty, they're basically makeup brushes, but you keep them specifically for foiling, and you want to dust the image you're foiling, and you want to dust the back side or the ugly side of the foil, not the pretty colored side, before you run that through your machine. So I'm going to do one with one piece of foil, and then I have another one here. And these I print at home off of my laser printer. Again, it has to be a laser printer. You cannot do this with an inkjet printer. So we're going to dusty that, and then this piece of foil on top of that. And we want to let it go all the way through before we put a new folder in, and you always want to let it cool down before you reveal it. And then we will see which is mink toner foil and which is hot foil. If you're interested in foiling, I do have two playlists. One is a playlist on mink/toner foiling that you can find on my YouTube page. Also, I have a separate folder for hot foiling. Now, primarily, I use the Gemini foil press system. However, I also show demonstrations with the Couture Creations Go Press and Foil and also the Spellbinders Glimmer Machine. And again, the purpose of this video is just to give you a quick test on how you can tell which foils you have using either a mink or a laminator. If you're going to be using a laminator, it's basically the same process, except you want to let your laminator heat up for a minimum of 30 minutes. And for your carrier sheet, you want to use either a piece of folded parchment paper or a folded piece of copy paper. The mink machine is always going to get hotter than a laminator, which is why this has 5 settings, so that can get super hot. So you will have better results with a mink machine than you will with the average laminator. Okay, I'm just going to turn this off and move it aside. So the first test that we did was just a plain piece of paper. Here is the solid red foil, and nothing sticks. What that tells me is this is a regular piece of toner or mink foil because there is no adhesive to this foil, so it doesn't stick to the paper. Okay, what that means is that the other foil that I have here should stick in some way. And sure enough, when we reveal it, that foil has stuck because once the heat touches the paper, all of that foil transfers over. This is also known as overfoiling because the foil has stuck to everything because, again, there's an adhesive built into that foil. This is considered the waste foil then. You can throw this clear piece out. You don't need this anymore. Okay. Now, let's say it's a toner printed design. All right, so this is a toner or laser printed design. And as I reveal the toner foil or the regular foil, you can see that design has transferred nicely from the foil to our little peppermint candies. And by the way, this is a free download on our Foiling Snobs Club webpage. Again, it's Foiling Snobs Club at Facebook, and we have a ton of free designs if you are interested in downloading them for personal use. Okay, so you can see that that foiled beautifully. Now, what if I did it with hot foil? Well, here it is with the hot foil, And again, because that adhesive is built in, you have overfoiling. So overfoiling is that the whole thing is foiled. That is not the look we want, and that's why it's very important to know which foils you're using and which kind of foiling system you're using it on. If you have any questions, post them down below. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you learned something new today, please give this video a thumbs up. And please consider subscribing to my channel by clicking the subscribe button in the bottom corner and the bell so that you get notifications when I post new videos. Thanks for watching and keep on foiling. Bye-bye.